How we doing, people? Welcome back to the show. Hope you're all well. Hope you've had a fantastic weekend. I'm absolutely knackered. I can't lie. I got back about 3 hours ago, and yeah, it's time for bed soon. I can't lie. But of course, first of all, we have to welcome to the show Albert Jal TV. Man, it's been a while. Al. What's going on, bro?
No, I can't be seeing you two just virtually, man. We're allowed to see each other in person now. So I miss you two guys, man. I'm good then, man. Life bit tough outside of YouTube life, but we smile, we move, man. We smile and we move.
Calm, bro. Calm. Listen, it's good to see you, mate. And it's also good to see Lee Judges back at a reasonable time in his normal place of residential home. Bro, what? How was your holiday and how you feeling, man?
Yeah, I had a good holiday, really, really good. A good laugh and everything like that. Busy since I come back, obviously with the Man United game yesterday, and it's we haven't done one of these for a while where we've been on the end of a poor result. You know what I mean? I think so.
Different
Do you know
vibe
what?
to it now, man. Different, bit of
Yeah,
a different
different
vibe.
vibe. Different vibe today. Like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. After the game yesterday, didn't know how I felt like yesterday. If I'll be honest, I was a bit mixed up. If I'll be honest, mixed about with it all. Woke up this morning frustrated more than anything. Like, you know, like the more I've sort of digested it, you know what I mean. It's a performance that we shouldn't have lost. We shouldn't play that well and lose a game of football, boys. Don't matter who we're playing. We played really, really well yesterday and ended up losing 3-1, and that's bugged me today more than anything. Like, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel the same. I feel like it's a tough one to take, mate. If I'm honest, and listen, we'll get more into it. But yeah, I think I'm similar to you, judges, and I'm sure Albert and the rest of the Arsenal fans are probably feeling that way,
mm,
to be fair. It's never a nice place to go out. Actually, one of my fixtures that I dislike of the season because you just don't know what you're going to get there. You can play the best football, you can play the worst football, but when you do play good, you can still end up losing. And that's basically what happened yesterday. And I'm
yeah,
not crying too much about it, and we'll go into it. But it was a hard one to walk away from thinking, yeah, I've walked away from some shockers at this ground, and that weren't one of them, and we still ain't got the end result. So it is a tough one to take, mate, 100%. Before we go into anything further, though, we've got a couple of clips to show that Dave is telling me in relation to yesterday's game, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat after it. So roll the clip, Dave.
Go wrong? The defence?
a little bit of both. I felt that I think if we've had 20 shots today at Old Trafford and only 2 on target, 2 or 3, defensively not good enough. Listen, I thought we was much, much better than Man United in all departments today, but apart from one, and they were clinical. And people will turn around and go, well, that's part of the job, and it is, you know. So I think they had 4, maybe 5 chances, and they took 3 of them. So that's something that we've got to work on. But I think that it's very, very hard to criticise that performance because I thought we played really, really well.
Listen, you heard from me and Lee there on the clips of what we thought of the game, so it's only fair to bring in Albert first. Then we'll go into what we thought was a bit of a breakdown of a disappointing result. But Albert, I'll come to you. Me and Lee have made points there in relation to quite a few incidents that happened, particularly the VAR. And this weekend is a completely different podcast of what's happening in the madness of VAR and the officiating in this league. But we won't touch on that because we'll be here all night otherwise. But what I want to get is your thoughts on where perhaps it went wrong for Arsenal yesterday. And then I'll come to Lee and talk a little bit more about where we think potentially we could learn a lot from and what we need to do better in the next game.
Yeah, firstly, we actually played better than I thought we would going into the game. And I was buoyed by kind of what I'd seen sort of the first 5 games coming into it. But I think for me, Dan, there's 2 parts to it for me. The first part, I always look at it from an attacking point of view in the sense that when you play these big games, you might not get that many chances. But we actually had the opposite. We actually had some very, very, very good chances to be in the ascendancy and go 1-0 up with the Saliba chance and obviously the disallowed goal. But when you're playing away at OT at a ground notoriously where our record is awful, you've got to get on the front foot. You have to get on the front foot. The second part of it is in terms of how you shape up the team defensively. If you look at the 7 goals we've conceded this season, Mikel Arteta will not be happy because they're all individual mistakes or they are all avoidable if you get a team that carves you open, United played well in the first 10 minutes, I'll give them that. But we dominated for 60, 70 minutes. But if a team carves you open and they score a fantastic goal or weldy, you'll take that on the chin as a fan. But when you're seeing the goals that we're conceding, that's got to be eradicated very, very quickly. But yeah, Dan, it is a shame. It's just lapses, isn't it, of concentration. You look at the first goal we conceded. One pass by Ericsson and it completely bisects our midfield. But then you look at it and you think, how can we look at this and avoid that goal when we look on the replay? Gabriel, he likes to try and win the ball. He goes to ground. You get a problem because it goes past him. Saliba's got a problem then, and then Zinchenko's got to come across, leaves Anthony free before you know it, 1-0 down, and we're scratching our heads thinking, how are we losing this game of football, dominating the possession that we've dominated and getting into the final third the way we did? But before I finish up, Dan, I think the thing that frustrated me consistently throughout the game, I don't know how you guys felt, is when you get into the final third, and I'm not talking about hitting side rule passing, I'm talking about basic elementary passing in the final third. It just kept breaking down with the likes of Saka or Erdegaard, and it just needed to be a bit more due care and attention. And you know what, we could have opened them up even more than we did. So that was extremely frustrating for me. And Mark, I'll give a shout out to Jesus actually, because he led the front line fantastically well. The only thing that he didn't get was a goal. He gave Varane and Martinez a nightmare. So,
100%, man. I feel like the front four were potentially to blame for some of the lack of being clinical, but at the same time, I didn't think any of them had a shocking game. Saying that, I didn't think any Arsenal player had a poor performance, if I'm honest with you. I didn't think there was anybody out there that I looked at and thought, massive, massive weak link. A lot of people mentioned our midfield and our centre-backs, but I believe personally, if you're going to look at what Arsenal didn't do right, then it was more of a unit or a defensive unit or a team as opposed to individuals. But Lee, before I come to you, I want to have my say on where I think things went wrong, and I think it's in the title, naivety, for me. This is a young side and a young manager, and it showed in the last 20 minutes of yesterday. They all got excited. At 1-1, control the game. You're in control. That's the best 15 minutes I've seen us play at Old Trafford after the second half. I thought we were exceptional. We were so on top, had unbelievable possession, literally control of the game, got our goal, and then it was like, right, these have turned into Wigan now. We can go and get 4 or 5. And then we, in my opinion, leave ourselves exposed. They go through with a one pass from Bruno Fernandes, great finish from Rashford. And then, for me, we're like, panic. We need goals. What we're going to do, we've got to bring something on from the bench here. So he's brought on Vieira, Smith Rowe, and Eddie Nketiah. I don't have the confidence in any of those to score goals, but they're all now on the pitch. So they have to. And I don't know why we did this. I don't know why we did those two things. Why did the 3 subs all come on together? Why do we completely change all of our shape? That's my first question. And my second question is, at 1-1, we are in the game. It's not like we've got 1 back, now we need 3 more to try and get back into it. We are in control. So I just would have liked to have seen a maturity in the side. And I think sometimes that's going to be a lot to ask in this young side, because I understand playing football myself. When you score, you want to go and get another one. And I've heard people say, Mikel Arteta, we'd all be on his back if he wouldn't have made any substitutions. We'd all be on his back if we didn't go out for it and try and take the 2-1. I actually would have preferred us to learn from some of the games we've had previously and try and keep our heads and go, do you know what? 1-1's cool for now. I'm calm with 1-1. We've got, 25 minutes left? We can still win this game. But instead, we've gone gung-ho and we lose the game 3-1. And I think that's where we lost the game in the last 20 minutes, Lee. And that's disappointing and hard to take, because this side is one that's developing. It's one that I'd like to say is becoming a lot more progressive in terms of its maturity. But I think it is going to take games like this where we're just not going to get what we believe we deserve as a fan because of that lack of experience within that side and, of course, within the manager. What's your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, some good points there. First of all, the first one, I've said it before in games, in the previous games, we have been conceding too many chances with the possession that we've had. You know, I've said it against Leicester, I've said it against Aston Villa, and I said it, we conceded too many chances. We conceded far too many chances against Fulham. You know, they had a free header in the last minute. They had Mitrovic had a header and all that. Like, and we got away with it because the teams are not as ruthless. But when you come up against one of the big boys and you leave yourselves open like we have done in previous games, you get punished. And that's what happened. We left ourselves punished. I've seen people turn around and say, "Oh, we missed Partey." Why are people saying that?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Why are they saying that? Because I'm going to be really honest. We know we're going to miss Partey. We know we're going to miss him at times and whatever. We've had 2 windows to remedy that. What, we're going to go wait till about 4 before we do it? You know, shocking. And anybody turns around and says, "Oh, Mikel ain't got Partey or he ain't got a midfield and all that," tough. You left yourself open to this. Whether it's Arteta or whether it's Edu, they've done something there, or both of them have felt that they could get away with it. And I'm fed up. I'm fed up with people trying to back it and turning around and saying, "Oh, it's best to wait for the right person and all that." Like, well, I'd rather have somebody than no one. So don't be going on about Sambi. I've heard a lot of criticism about Sambi Lokonga today. Yes, I think he was maybe at fault yesterday. Probably yes, as someone said in the chat, there was a weak link. I thought he didn't play too bad, but when you look at naivety and things like that, we're 1-0 up. Well, sorry, 1-1, looking to go in there. Our midfield is not giving any protection whatsoever. It's sort of like, you know, the Conga loses the ball in the final third of the pitch. He should be just saying that someone should be saying, right, stay in that hole, just protect us, so the ball can't come through as it did. That's one thing, but that's the way we've chose to play and the way we're going. It people turning around and saying, well, why didn't he put Zinchenko in there? Like, you know, why? Because he's the midfield player that we've got. This is the midfield player we've chosen. You can't not then pick him if you know if you decided you're not going to go and buy a midfield player. Then we've got a midfield player there, and then you can't start leaving him out. You know what I mean? You've got to play him there. Like, we've got to deal with it. Partey is a big loss. We know that he's a big loss because he's a bloody good player. But we knew that, you know, we knew this when we played Tottenham. We knew this when we played Newcastle. We knew this, you know. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. This is something that should have been addressed, and it's a mistake. But in saying that, I agree. The substitutions came in when we was 2-1 down. Like, you know, I honestly think that I'll say it now. I'm looking at that. I was actually saying, like, you know, who to take off. Very difficult to take off anybody. Like,
yeah.
I was looking at it and thinking, right, we've got to get Eddie on. Someone said when we was doing the watching on yesterday, get Eddie on, and I went, yeah, get Eddie on through, get him on through. And he went, well, what do you mean? I said, well, Saka's playing all right. Martinelli's got a chance. I didn't think Martinelli faded from the game, but you always think he's likely to score. Jesus is playing really well. All the guards causing all sorts of problems until he gets into the box. You know, Xhaka, you can't take him out there. The Conga you may do, but then you know, I thought it was difficult to make one substitution, let alone 3, and then like completely lost the shape. And then once they scored, that was it. I think it may be like, listen, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Like, you know, if he'd have made no substitutions, people would have just said, "Oh, no." He didn't make no subs. I didn't think it was a game where I felt that we probably could have gone to the whole game without making a substitution. We lost 2-1. I think maybe, like, you know, you think, oh well, that's it, like, you know. But
I'll just stop you there, though, Lee. Can I just pull you up on something, bro? Because I think it's important. You say make a sub, but who for? We wouldn't be saying make a sub, but who for if the subs were actually going to cause a huge threat when they come on. I don't think anybody looks at that substitutions bench and goes, bloody hell, Arsenal got killers on the bench. My God, let's not bring them on because they're going to kill us. Eddie's not scored yet. Smith Rowe can't keep fit. Vieira's first kicks of a ball look okay, but we don't know what we're going to get from him. I don't think there's anybody on that bench, mate, that we could have gone, why is Arteta not bringing these guys on? They're going to be changing the game.
Yeah, maybe that's it. That. Like, that's a great point. That's a great point. If we've got someone on there, think, oh, get him on. I think you're right. I think if you take, say, if you want to take Jesus off, for instance, and you put in the team was going to and put Eddie on, you're going to weaken the team. Was going to weaken the team. I just felt, you know, you're right what you're saying. I felt it was a difficult one. Listen, I get what people are saying. I get there's a bit of criticism about it, the naivety and all that. Like, listen. I think that when it was 1-1, I honestly thought we was going to win the game. We was really, really playing well. And yes, we made a mistake. And yes, we got open. That third goal. Yes, Lukonga could have done better with the pass, but from then on, the defending from Gabriel and then Ben White was shocking. Ben White, what was he doing? What was he doing? You know what I mean? Like trying to play offside on the halfway line. You know what I mean? Get across and pick up the man. Gabriel's positioning was all wrong. Like we just switched off, and you can't switch off against teams like Manchester United, especially on the break. Now, one thing that has annoyed, and I'll tell you what, I'm not been really annoyed about anything about Mikel Arteta about that. The one thing that's annoyed me about was Mikel Arteta has said, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, is that he's come back in the press conference and he's turned around and said, we play well, but we've not learning our lessons. And I thought, right, well, when are you going to start learning your lessons then? Because this happened at Tottenham, this has happened at Newcastle, this happened at Manchester United last year, Everton. When are you going to start learning lessons? Naivety and defending and all that, We've been fortunate in the other two games. I'm sorry about that. Leicester, that we give them so many chances. We aren't giving away chances. And I think that's something that I've said. I've actually said Aaron Ramsdale is being too busy for my liking. I've said it. You can go back and have a look. And that is the problem. And it's got to be addressed now. I don't think that we've got those problems so much if Thomas Partey's in there. But even when Partey's played, we've been giving up chances. But at the end of the day, listen, I don't think it's one where we can go overboard about it. We played well. That's the frustrating thing for me, is that we played really, really well yesterday and got nothing from it. To play that well, we should at least get a point.
Yeah.
When you play that well, that's my point. Pardon the pun. That's my point. And I think that, listen, you can go on about the substitutions and things like that. I've got to say this now. Jesus was fantastic. I thought he was fantastic on the day. Those two guys couldn't handle it, and they fouled and everything like that. Another couple of points that I want to raise just before we start there. Gabriel had a shocker. That's not the first time. Everybody's going, I'll bring back Tommy Asu and bring back Ben White, drop Ben White. Ben White defensively done okay yesterday. Sancho hardly got a kick. So,
Sancho
all this thing
was terrible because of Ben White. I thought Sancho was awful.
Yeah, I don't know if it was to do with Ben White or whatever, but I'll tell you what, he never got no joy.
Ben White was okay. I thought he was okay. Apart from keeping everybody on side for the bloody goal.
Yeah, that was his one mistake. But Gabriel's for the first goal, what's he doing? What is it? Can someone explain to me what was he doing? He's gone out. He's gone. He's gone off his post. Like his defensive shape to go into a tackle on Bruno, which he shouldn't be doing. That's the midfield's job, by the way, someone to take that. He's then missed a tackle, right? If you're going to tackle him like Maguire done in the second half, you take him completely out and take the booking. He didn't even do that. Poor. Very, very poor. It's not the first time.
Zinchenko got sucked in as well for the first
one.
Yeah,
he got sucked in, but if you don't get sucked in if your centre half stays on fucking post on duty. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, first minute of the game, the ball is an header. He misses it. Completely misses it. Go and have a look. First, it's a routine header. He gets under it. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
He's been shaky for a few games now, Gabriel.
Yeah, he's been shaky. Listen, we love him. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but he's been
I love
shaky.
him. I think he's quality.
And people are turning around and saying, drop Ben White, drop Ben White. I'm not saying drop anybody at this moment in time, but if you're going to bring Tommy Asu back in, right, then you've got to be looking at other players in there, And I'm sorry, another thing that I'm going to say, this VAR and this ref, you know what I mean, yesterday, does my head in, you know what I mean? First 5 minutes of that game, Martinez does a bad tackle on Jesus. It's a booking, right? Oh, well, they've let him off because it's early, right? This is the same referee that never let off Holding for no point. We never let off Holding. Went, he's on a yellow card, so I'll let him in. He couldn't wait to get the second yellow card out and get him off. Why is he not doing that against Mark? No, And this is where I'm going on about. It's always little things like that. Now, what that does is that give Martinez four or five more opportunities to grab and push and kick Gabriel. Now, if he'd have been booked in the first minute like he should have been, what defensive performance is he going to have in that game, like, you know? And that is where it really gets on my goat about when people say, oh, you know, don't blame referees and all that or whatever. Yes, I will. Because that, you know, do your job properly. Do it properly. Don't let, you know, when you're against Spurs, he did it properly. People go, oh, yeah, it was definitely 2 yellow cards. I accept that, right? And then I see him letting off Martinez. Pathetic refereeing again. You know, and this is what annoys me about Arteta. Come out and slag that off. Yeah. It was gaming season to have a go at a ref yesterday. Gaming season, like, you know what I mean? Like, with VAR and all that. He should have come out in that game, like, all guns blazing, said the decision there, gone on about the Saka. I'm gonna say it, like, I'm ranting on here, like, you know, but here we go. The Ramsdale goal against Villa, not enough. Well, we was told by the commentary that day, not enough to give it a foul. Even though it probably is a foul, it's not enough to overturn the VAR. It's not enough to overturn the decision. The second one, yes, a penalty, but not enough for VAR to get involved. So why is it enough to get involved in that one against Man United? The inconsistency is shocking, right? And it always comes down to Arsenal, you know what I mean? Like, inconsistencies. I can go on about 100 things and all that, like, you know. Listen, don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, West Ham have got something to be more and more pissed off with than us. You know what I mean? I get that. But ultimately, so many things going against us at times, like, you know, and it ain't the first time. And that ref, I don't want to ever see him refereeing Arsenal again. And that's what annoys me about Arteta. Come out and say it. Put a doubt in his mind. Go, I don't want him again. And if the bloke turns around in the interview, goes, why don't you want him again? I'd have turned around and if that was me, I'd have gone, because I tell you what, he should have been booked in the first minute. He weren't so he wasn't so lenient at White Hart Lane 2 or 3 months ago. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't want him. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. But anyway, we move on. We still played well. The more and more I've watched it, I'm getting into it. The more and more it's given me the ump, Dan.
Yeah, and you have a right to be like that, mate. But there's a poll at the moment that I want to just read out. Why did Arsenal lose this game? We've got Arteta's tactics winning at 38%, attack not being clinical enough at 28%, the defence not good enough at 22%, and poor refereeing at 12%. Now, listen, Lee, I'm with you, man. I don't like what I've seen over this weekend from refs, 100%. But Albert, I don't think that lost us the game. I think what it did, however, was just frustrate the hell out of us even more. I agree with Lee about Martinez. I thought McTominay was playing rugby for most of the game. Nothing seemed to happen.
Another one. Forgot about him.
I thought that the way that they were, the way that we were seeing, the way we were seeing some of the decisions over the weekend, I think raised everybody's anxiety within this game because of Lee Mason and Paul Tierney living in Salford and having a 9-minute trip to their game this weekend. I think everybody just got the hump with that straight away. But I think what we need to be careful not to do as a fan base is start to point the finger at that all the time. So I think we need to be justified in what we do when we're doing it. Now, I saw the goal live, obviously, and everything stopped. I was going nuts, as were all the Arsenal fans. Brilliant take by Martinelli, by the way. Don't underestimate how hard that is to do, right? Brilliant finish, brilliant first touch, brilliant finish. And it all goes quiet. And I sat there and I said, they're going to try and rule this one out somehow. No, it's perfect. I've not seen anything wrong. I said, no, neither have I yet. Let's just wait. VAR comes and the geezer walks up to the screen for 10 minutes. He's trying to work out, how am I going to get rid of this goal? What am I trying to do with this one? Something's got to go wrong here. And I thought it was a foul when I look back at it. But how many of those do you see in the game? How many of those are so soft? Like Lee says, that ain't enough of a foul to have to get involved. Now, Gary Neville said rightly so. I think Paul Tierney was pretty uncomfortable having to make a decision with that one because I don't think he thought it should have gone to VAR. And that's why he was looking at it at 7 or 8 different angles. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Albert, and what you thought about it and in terms of whether you thought it was a foul or not. And how much that changed the game. Because for me, 1-0 up, that's a completely different game of football for me, mate. So it was a massively important part of the game.
That's the thing, Dan. Like, I think I see some people in the chat. I've seen a few people in chats in sort of podcasts since the game was finished. Oh, you know, we can't keep blaming the refs. us as Arsenal fans, right, are entitled to definitely feel aggrieved with that goal that got chalked off. 100,000,000%. I didn't think it was a foul, and I'll tell you why I think that, because people have got this obsession. To me, just because there's physical contact, it does not mean it's a foul. And my blood was even boiling even more when I only saw. I watched the game yesterday between Leicester and Brighton, but I didn't see all the goals. Now we know what goal we're talking about. We're talking about the Iheanacho goal, and I tweeted at the time. I said, so if they're talking about a soft foul, is the Tielemans barge a hard advantage then? It's ridiculous. It's exactly the same pattern of
Inconsistency
play.
again.
Yeah, and that is why Arsenal fans feel aggrieved, because it's exactly the same thing, and that goal stood. So I didn't think it was a foul at the time, Dan, and it was a massive decision, because we go 1-0 up at a ground we do not get results at. I think it's 2 in about 15 years, 2 wins in about 15 years in the league. It's a completely different ball game. And fair play to Arsenal as well, also done, in the sense that the goal got chalked off, but we was brilliant afterwards. And we should never have gone into halftime 1-0 down. I could not believe it. And there's been many times, I've not been to OT. Dan, you've probably been a league, judges, whatever. I can't remember Arsenal playing that well at Old Trafford for a number of years. If I'm being totally honest, I thought the football was brilliant at times. I thought we was hurting them from wide areas. We kept possession of the ball very well. Like I said, in terms of the final third, it should have been better. So it was pivotal, Dan, because the thing is, what I've wanted to see from Arsenal, and I had this chat with you when we did Uncensored against Liverpool last season, and I said, for me, like, part the top 4 or top 6 race aside, I'm talking about Arsenal making a statement in these big games away from home. Because when we beat Man United 2 years ago, that was our first win in 29 against top rival sides. It's not good enough. We need to start going to these grounds. Yeah, we've got no divine right to go to OT and Anfield and pick up 3 points. It's not easy. But we started going to these grounds and winning, Dan, and making statements. Perfect example before I finish up. I look at someone like Crystal Palace, for example, have gone to the Etihad in the last 3 or 4 years, and they've turned them over a couple of times. They was unlucky not to beat them this season. So it can be done. It can be done. And we need to start going to these grounds and winning these important football matches. Like I said, it's tough because Gaffer makes the point, and many Arsenal fans will say it. If we'd have played rubbish and lost yesterday, then I could understand a little bit of the meltdown, even after winning the first 5 games. But we played well. That's why it's so difficult to take, especially because it's them. And I hear things, Dan, right, before talking about Man United tactical masterclass. Do me a favor. Listen, right. I haven't seen football any more than anybody else. But if you go and ask any Manchester United fan sitting in that ground yesterday, watching that game on the TV for 60, 70 minutes, and come back and tell me that as a Ten Hag masterclass, then you got to be having a laugh. The second goal completely killed the momentum for Arsenal. So, and they get the third goal. We tried to play a high line. It didn't work. And you know what? We end up leaving that ground with no points, which is difficult to take.
It is difficult to take. A tactical masterclass to me is when you give the other opposition no chance in the game because your tactics are spot on to repel theirs. And I don't think they did that. I think we were dominant in a lot of the game. But looking at things now, I'd rather be in Man United's position because they won the game. So that's the reality of it. You know, the 3 points go to them, not to us. So we can sit here saying we played pretty football all we like. It didn't matter in the end. And it reminded me very much of the City Spurs situation last year, where City played all the beautiful football. Spurs just didn't. And they just said, we'll take it on the counter, please, and we'll take the 3 points. And I think if we do that in a few weeks' time against Spurs, they'll be licking their lips, mate. If we play like that, they'll be licking their lips, saying, please play like you did against Old Trafford. I dare you, because we'll beat you. And it will, because that's what Conte does.
And Dan, the thing is as well, like, listen, we know this United side are not the team of yesteryear, but I said to some people, look, they had an awful start. They've won 3 games on the bounce. They kept three clean sheets. They're coming into the game against a team they've got a very, very good record against. and that shouldn't have been underplayed. Yes, we've had a good start to the season, but listen, momentum in football is massive.
Agreed.
Irrespective of who you're playing.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Ten Hag has managed to lift the Man United side. And I think some of that did pay off yesterday for them. But Lee, I want to come into some positives from Arsenal's individual performances, because there were a few. We looked at a couple that were perhaps dodgy, and we looked at some positioning issues, but I didn't think anyone had a shocker, if I'm honest with you. But the ones I wanted to talk about were Saka, because I thought for me he was man of the match. For he's brilliant. He just, that Malaysia, by the way, is a quality player.
Yeah,
And he just had him on toast. Had him on
yeah.
absolute toast, right? Odegaard, I thought actually was okay, but I hate repeating myself. Please learn how to shoot. Please learn how to shoot. That's all I'm going to say. I'll say it politely. Please learn how to shoot. And then Martinelli, I thought was great as well. I think he kind of tailed off towards the second half, and it was weird because that was actually where we were probably better, to be fair, particularly the first 15 minutes. But he was not really a massive part of that. But Jesus was, as you mentioned, absolutely sensational. So I suppose there's some confidence there going into the game. But I wanted to also get, once you've looked at the positive performances, about our midfield, because for me, Sambi Lokonga, like, I didn't think he was bad at all. On the ball, he's great, right? On the ball, I think he's really comfortable. He's not a defensive midfielder. Do you know why? How many tackles did he win off the ball? 0. He did nothing off the ball. So he's not a defensive midfielder. He's one for me who's probably going to be looking at that left 8, which is why I think Mikel Arteta has been playing him in that position throughout the whole of the preseason. Now, when Xhaka and Zinchenko and players like that aren't playing, I think Lokonga is the guy to then come in. I just feel a little bit sorry for him that all the Arsenal fans just want to cane him, because I do feel like, although he's going to make mistakes, this kid is still learning. And at Old Trafford, it's never going to be easy. So the midfield, we're lacking massively in midfield, judges, again. And I knew this was going to happen. And people are talking about it already. The window was shut a few days ago, and we're all going, midfield looks a bit short. Midfield looks a bit short. Why are we still discussing the midfield? We've had all the January and summer to clear this up, and we're still talking about that. So the question's kind of positives up top, not clinical enough, but actually we've got some good players. Our midfield is looking short, judges, man.
It is looking short. The fact of the matter is, I know you say like, we don't play like that against Spurs. We do play like that against Spurs. Because at the end of the day, if we take our chances yesterday, we win 3 or 4. But that is the thing. When we play Spurs, we must play like that, but take our chances. Go back to the first goal. If that is given, it's a different game. But in saying that, Saliba's had an open goal. You've just said it back with Odegaard. You know what I mean? Like, what a lovely bit of play from Jesus. He's opened it up. He's 8 yards out, Danny, at the corner flag. You know what I mean? Like, Gabriel in the first half with the header. Good save from De Gea, but we opened them up there. We had so many, and then there was a lovely little move between Saka and Odegaard. He got him in, Odegaard, and he tried another pass to try and get back. So why isn't he shooting? You shoot, you get a deflection or something like that. They're the things we've got to learn. Now, this has continued for a long time. I've seen Odegaard now do this for 5 games. He's our captain. If your captain's not learning, how are you expecting other players to learn? This is where Arteta's got to come out and say, right now, start shooting. I expect when you get into that box to start shooting.
Pull the trigger, yeah.
Listen, there was he done a wonderful pass for the goal. Wonderful. You know what I mean? Like, to get Jesus in and, Saka puts in. He had a fantastic performance yesterday, Odegaard. But you've got to be ruthless. I think Man United weren't that great yesterday, but I will give them credit for what they've done. They were ruthless in this. I've watched Rashford last season go running through and miss chances like that, put them wide and everything like that. But you just knew against us that he was going to do it. When he went through, you thought, oh, that's it, goal. When you look back at you talk about the Man City Spurs game. Yeah, man, Tottenham were ruthless that day, had 3 chances to score. How many chances did City have? It's like, they miss and miss and miss, and you go, oh, it's coming. You know what's coming. You know what I mean? Like, and it was a little bit like that with Arsenal yesterday. Kept missing chances, and you know what it's like. Then we're going to rue one of these. And it's what happened. It's what happened. You know what I mean? I will say this, and it's a great point that Albert makes. Crystal Palace go to Man City and they defend and all that, like, you know, blah, 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 blah. We've done that at Liverpool, right, for 45 minutes. But people complain, going, "Oh, we haven't had a shot," and then we end up losing 3 or 4-0. Like, you know, we hadn't had a shot, What do you do? I felt yesterday they were there for the taking. At 1-1, we was all over them. Saka was ripping it out. I thought it was fantastic watching him go past players and all that. But we switched off defensively, like, you know. That's something that we've got to learn. We got caught on the counter-attack against Tottenham. We got caught on the counter-attack. How many more times we're going to get caught on the counter-attack? One of the reasons we get caught on the counter-attack, Dan, is what you've exactly just turned around and said, because we haven't got that holding midfielder that stands in there and does his job. Does the job. So I'm now looking at do we put Ben White in there? Or does Zinchenko go in there? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what we're going to do. The fact of the matter is we've left ourselves short in that area. I don't care what anybody says. And as I said earlier on, two transfer windows to do it. You know what I mean? So, and do you know what, Dan? I'm going to say it now. There's no excuses. I don't want no excuses no more. You've done this. This is your team now. I'm going to stick up for Arteta a little bit here. He turned around and said, week into the with the transfer window left, we're short of midfield players. We need a couple of midfield players. They haven't gone and got them. You know, so he's not going to come out and go, "Oh, this and this and that." It was all done and all that. Like, I make this right. We've had a good transfer window, but we needed a midfield player. We needed to bring in somebody like, and because of. I don't know what. I don't know who. You tell me who they've, Dan. You tell me, Albert. You tell me who they have targeted, because it definitely wasn't Douglas Luiz. I can tell you that now, because you wouldn't be going for him for the last minute of the transfer window. You know, so they obviously got someone in mind. There wasn't one in mind. Exactly. So, you know, and if that is the case, and I'm not having people keep turning around and trying to continuously defending Arteta. Oh, it's not Arteta's fault. It's the pair of them. They're both involved in it. When he gets players out, oh, it's fantastic. Arteta, he's got the dead wood out. He's got this and he's got that. And then when it doesn't happen, I said, whose fault? Let's get it right. It's the pair of them. It's the pair of them. They're a pair. They're a couple. They do it, you know what I mean? Like, so on both of their heads that it be, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, you know, he should have gone in there 2 weeks ago and saying, right, I'm demanding this and demanding that. And I don't care what he says. When people go, oh, Arteta might have gone, well, I don't really fancy Tillemans. I don't really fancy her. Tough. I'd rather have someone you don't fancy than no one at all, mate. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, Lukonga might get away with it against Fulham. He might get away with it against Villa. Not 100% sure. He might get away with it against Everton. He's not going to get away with it at Tottenham. He's not going to get away with Manchester United, as you've seen. Now, the fact of the matter is, when Partey drops out of the team, Dan, there's too much of a gap for Lukonga. Like, it's too much. Look at Tottenham. If they lose one of their Højbjerg and all that, Basuma comes in. There's not much difference, right? You look at Liverpool. Liverpool are struggling because they haven't got that thing. That's why Liverpool are struggling at the moment, because their midfield players have got injured, and the ones coming in are nowhere near at the same level. And that is the problem.
Too much of a drop off.
There's too much of a drop off.
Massive drop off.
Too much of a drop off. Like, and El Nini being out injured as well. How long ago was El Nini out? 2 weeks ago. So you knew that this was, you know what I mean, coming like so. So you're happy to have El Nini.
What's worryingly is that if he wasn't injured, we wouldn't have got anybody anyway. Well, so if he wasn't injured, we wouldn't have got anyone. So I think he was happy.
You're right.
We were happy with that midfield.
That's why we went for David.
That's why we panicked for Douglas Luiz.
So, 100%.
You're right.
And I look at it as well, and you make a good point about the Arteta and Edu criticism and the Kroenke criticism. Who do we blame? Some people blame these people. Somebody. Why can't they all just be a collective? Apparently, we're told all the time that it's a we. It's not an I. So it should be all of that team together, from the board and the ownership, saying, I want this player, make it happen. I'm the manager and I want him. I'm coming to you, Edu. We're a team and we're going to make this guy come over the line. And I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the fan base that seem to think that Arteta's this genius for getting Ramsdale and Tomiyasu. But when it doesn't go wrong, Edu, what you doing? Well, hang on a minute. I thought Edu bought Ramsdale and Tomiyasu. Does he not get any praise for that? So I think the pair of them together need the praise and the criticism together,
Yeah,
because that's what apparently we're being told is how it's run. I don't think Arteta says, I want him, and Edu says, no, thank you. I think the way they do it is they select a player together from this is only what we've been told and what the documentary said as well. That's the way it works. So I think you're right to look at Arteta and Edu together as a pair and say they got this wrong. And it's not the first time they got it wrong. They didn't buy a striker in January. They didn't replace fullbacks in January. And they didn't replace Partey. And now, 6 games in, we've got no midfielder that can hold the ball. No centre defensive midfielder. So
Dan,
that is a massive problem for me.
Yeah, Dan, again, you've got 2 different elements of frustration in terms of the game against United. We played well, didn't get anything out of it. But then you do have to take it back to, and there's nothing you can do now. The transfer window's closed. We knew this was the problem for a few years in terms of centrally. And Dan, when I look at, I thought to myself at the time, they've given El Nene an extra year to stay. Lokonga wasn't going to go out on loan, so the warning signs were already there that Arsenal weren't going to bring anybody in. And I just find it really odd, whether you rate players or not. Let me make this clear: Zacharia's gone to Chelsea on loan. Idris Gueye, who's a good player, I think, personally, when he was at Everton, when he went to PSG, he's come back. There are players out there, even if Arsenal weren't going to get on a permanent, at least, get somebody on loan. And obviously, it's true with the Douglas Luiz thing. He was linked with Arsenal before, and I wouldn't have a problem if he came to Arsenal. That's the first thing I must say. But it was quite clear he was only thought of because of the injuries to Partey and Mohamed El Neni. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone for him. Arteta and Edu are obviously making the point that they probably didn't feel anybody was out there, because the Tielemans thing doesn't make sense to me. But then quite clearly, there's something about him that they're not sold on, unless there's some top secret agreement that he's going to sign a pre-contract in January and come to us. But we needed it now.
Massively, bro. I agree with everything you're saying, man. You know what, judges? I do get a lot of stick at times for sort of questioning what's happening here. And then again, I'm still scratching my head thinking, why are we still in this position, man? Like, it took us so long to get something sorted in certain positions, and we're still short. And now, 5 years on, we're still waiting for Xhaka and El Neni to be in the team? Like, this, for me, needs question marks. I'm sorry, it does. And there's 2 ways to look at this. You can look at it and say, we didn't get enough in the January transfer market, and Stan Kroenke needs to take blame, or Josh Kroenke, whoever one you want to look, needs to take the blame for that, for not backing it. Or Kroenkes have backed it, and Arteta and Edu have decided that they weren't looking for the right guy in the team. Now, we've heard from Edu and Arteta saying that we tried. I hate that, by the way. We tried. Try harder. Yeah, because we're actually in desperate crisis at the moment in midfield at times. We tried, but there was nobody out there that we would go and get. They said that in January, right? Now they're saying it again in the summer window. I heard somebody yesterday say, we've got to wait till January, haven't we? The window's just shut like 4 days ago, by the way. Got to wait till January now. No, we haven't. We don't do anything in January. We don't do anything in the summer. Not in the positions that we need. This is the team, mate, until the end of the year. This is the team.
This is my a little bit of a fear. I think they took a little bit of a gamble because, it finishes in November. So when virtually goes into November, I think that the Europa League, if they don't bring in players in because the Europa League, I don't think starts until after Christmas. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed.
we just get. That's when it gets difficult, and so that's when you're going to need better players. So I think that they're probably thinking, well, we can get through this stage of it, and maybe that's why they didn't go for midfield player. We get Tielemans on the cheap in January. We can then. And maybe somebody else. I think Danilo. I think that people are telling me that's a done deal in January, and we can then focus on 2 fronts. You know what I mean? Because we ain't going to be able to focus on 2 fronts with the team we've got at the moment, with the squad we've got at the moment. I think also, Dan, I think this is an important thing. I think my theory to it, I may just put it out there. If you bring in a player just say for a midfield player now, right? What's my role going to be? Well, it's going to be playing in the group stages of the Europa League. I don't think that's going to convince someone. But come January, you go, right, what's my role? But well, what you're going to do is you're going to be my main man in the Europa League and the FA Cup, because they're important that we go there. So what I'm saying is that if you're put into the Europa League now, you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not really in the main team. Come February, both competitions are going to be as important as each other. So it'll be easy to say, right, well, okay, right. I don't think it's what's the word to say, like a downgrade if you're playing in the Europa League on the Thursday and not on the Sunday. It's like that's a massive gap, maybe even bigger than the Premier League, because this is the trophy you can win. So I feel that if they don't get those players in January, then it's an absolute shit show. What's happening?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you, man. And I just want to bring up a
100%.
quick comment from Raul as well, who's in the chat. It says that we have 14 good players. The rest aside, men, the squad is so underwhelming. And some people might think that's harsh. I think that's facts. I really do. And
our 11 is good, Dan. We're one short. We're one short.
Very good.
That's
One
the best
short in the 11.
Yeah. Without Thomas
I
Partey
agree.
as best 11, we played some scintillating stuff yesterday. Like,
I
you know
agree.
what I mean? So
I agree.
that is
and
what.
Then you look at the bench, and you look at the bench from Crystal Palace on the first game, and I look at the bench right up to yesterday, and I'm still underwhelmed. And the transfer window is now shut. So we always said this: we are still short. I always said it, stood by it, said we're still short. But I was confident going into the last few days of the season because I really thought we were going to get at least another 2 players in. And when we didn't, I was like, on your heads be it, because this team, if it gets injuries, is not up to it. To what we want it to be. And that is facts. If we get Jesus out now, we've got Eddie for the rest of the season. That ain't good enough. If Partey's out for the rest of the season, we've got Lokonga. That ain't good enough. If we get a right-back injury, we've got Cedric. That ain't good enough. One of our centre-backs gets injured. Holding. That's not good enough. All these players have already proven they're not good enough from last year. So I don't want them coming back in again and wasting another season. We wanted them to be our third choice now if they're going to stay or leave. I look at the squad now. We've got less players, more games to play. I don't see how it's going to work, Albert.
Yeah, you make a good point, because I mentioned this last season, and people saying to me about Premier League, there's Premier League fixture congestion, but I said no. I said, look, when we played West Ham last season, right, at their ground, and we beat them, at the time West Ham played 11 more games than us. 11. That's more than almost 3 months worth of football, and that's with a depleted squad Arsenal had. So you fast forward to this season, we're back in Europe. Who knows? You might even go on a domestic cup run. Who knows? Let's say we do. With not even that much of a bigger squad, and still missing in key areas of the squad and the team. So we brought this upon ourselves a little bit. I get
we got 9 games in October as well, bro. 9 games to play in October.
Exactly on top of that, and I get it. Wow. Listen, I've heard people say the argument: would you taken 15 points out of 18 at the start of the season? Of course, I would have taken it.
Yeah,
but
that's not the debate, though. That's a different argument.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So but then again, you have to look at it sort of. You take it in blocks in terms of short term, and this could be a massive stumbling block. And listen, I said at the start of the season, Dan, in terms of the midfield area, particularly with Arsenal's team and squad, I don't want to come into the new season with the same quartet in terms of midfield, whether it be the first 11 or the squad, because it's not strong enough to cope on 2 fronts. Facts.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. Listen, before we come to a close, I want to bring up the super chat, which is probably going to give a good way to kind of end where people's thoughts are. So this super chat comes in from Luke. Says, Arteta lost the plot at Newcastle last season too. I just don't think this guy can take us back to winning Premier League titles. Do you guys think he can? Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, one loss and Arsenal fans are all up in ears. I don't think Luke means that. I just think he's probably had that opinion for a while. And to be fair, a lot of people have. They're not been convinced by Mikel Arteta, and fairly justifiably so. The way that we finished and what we threw away last season, I think still sticks in the back of people's throat quite nastily. I want to get your opinions, both of you, on Mikel Arteta this season and if things have changed, because I personally feel like things have definitely improved. I'm seeing progress. I'm seeing definitely a style of play. I think we look hard to beat. I think we look solid. And I think that we're definitely seeing some signings that have taken us to a new level. Whether that's going to be enough or not, I don't know. My biggest qualm is I don't think this squad is nowhere near big enough to be competing in both domestic cups, winning the Europa League, and comfortably qualifying for a Champions League spot through the league. That's just my opinion, and I might be proved wrong. But I really hope that they haven't left us short, because I actually really like what's happening with this first 11 right now. So, Albert, I'll come to you first, and then Lee, you can have the last say.
Yeah, Dan, to touch on what you're saying, you're right. In terms of the style of play, the football, is a lot more enjoyable to watch than what I've seen in recent years under different managers, by the way. So that's a positive. And we've got some players at this club. You know, the relationship between the fans and the players has improved immeasurably. You know, Arteta can take credit for that. In terms of like a league title or pushing for a Premier League title, then the short answer to that is no. But what I would like, Dan, personally, I know it's tough because I look at this squad and I think, so can we get top 4 via the league? Potentially, yeah. Do I think we'll do it? I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence, if I'm being totally honest with you. Maybe asking the same question again in a few months' time. But I think in terms of the Europa League, hopefully he does something that hasn't been done since George Graham. We ain't got too much European success at this football club, which is one thing that really, really burns me, if I'm being honest with you. 2 trophies, man. So, listen, I would love a top 4 finish and to win the Europa League, because, and what I mean by that is, Dan, is yes, I know you get Champions League football for the Europa League, but to cement it via your league position is a lot more. It just gives it that extra something. So, like you say, I've seen improvements in terms of the style of play, which is very important, and we've got some players that we can actually really, really get behind. But yeah, league title push, I'm not too sure about that, man.
Yeah, man. That was the question, Lee. Obviously, can Mikel Arteta take us back to Premier League titles? What's your thoughts, mate?
Listen, I think we'll learn a lot on Sunday, because it's no good like this. That when people go, we went on 5-game unbeaten runs last season, and then we lost 3 on the spin, and then we lost on the 2 on the spin, and whatever like that. So this is where I want to see it now. We've had 5 games win. We've had a little setback. What happens now? What I expect Arsenal to do now is, if Mikel's going to be the person that's going to take us to where we want to go. You beat Everton, you beat Brentford, and you beat Tottenham, and you go and then you come back into the you know, the next 2 games we win, we go into the international break, and we come back at home against Tottenham. That's what I want. It's no good losing to Everton, then losing to Brentford. Like, you know, you're back to square one, and then I'm thinking, right, well, no. But I'm with Albert on this. I've seen a lot of improvement. I've seen us playing a lot of good football. I've enjoyed what I've seen. I'm not on 1 defeat against Man United when we've totally dominated them is not going to change my mind, and I'm not going to criticise Arteta too much on that front there. I don't think it's not his fault that players are missing open goals. It's not his fault that players are making mistakes in defensively. What he can do, though, is he's got some big decisions to make Sunday. Does he change that back 4 round? Does he what he does in midfield? So I'll be looking at that strongly. Can we challenge for the title? I'll tell you on the 1st of November.
Interesting one indeed. This World Cup is this World Cup is going to change a lot of things, not just for Arsenal, but the way football is going to be because of the interruption it's going to have. But at the end of the day, I don't see it as an excuse. We should have had a squad good enough to at least use 5 subs each game and use a squad big enough to compete in all 4 competitions. And I just personally don't feel that we've done that. Having said that, boys, we're still top of the league. Things are looking rosy for us. We've had the best start out of everybody so far. And although it's been a disappointing day for us all yesterday, we do have to keep our heads up and say fair play. We've got Everton and Brentford next, and then a few Europa League games. And then, of course, we go into the North London derby. And it will be a great way to go into the North London derby, top of the league, having known that we've got a massive month ahead of us. 9 games to play in that October month. And then, of course, we look towards the World Cup and see whereabouts Arsenal are, judges. And maybe we'll come back to that question then. Albert, listen, mate, thank you so much, man. It's always a pleasure having you on, my bro. Thanks so much for all the support and content you do on the channel as well. Get over to Albert JTV, people. Subscribe to his channel and follow Albert over there. Always a friendly face and always knows what he's talking about in terms of articulation with Arsenal. Yeah. Big up yourself, man. And thank you so much for coming on, bruv.
No, much love, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Yeah, like I said, great to see you guys. It's been too long, man. I ain't seen you guys for ages.
It has been a while, man. It has been a while.
Yeah.
But we're back to football and back to home at the Emirates. So we'll look forward to Everton on the weekend. And we'll be doing a preview for that one as well, guys. Thank you all for being in the chat. Thank you all for the love. Judges, thank you as always, my friend. And
No, I enjoyed that. It was a good therapy session. That was.
it was a good
Beautiful
therapy
therapy.
session, mate.
It's beautiful
Beautiful therapy. Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. We're out of here. Until next time, up the Arsenal, people. Take care.